hate it when I get my Schwartz twisted.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Ultimate Crossover event, as we were talking about before. Continuing on from Pacific414's channel that we had before, and we now cross over to my channel, Baron After Dark. I want to, of course, thank, Pacific414 and Cashmoney for joining me tonight, and thank you for having me on your show. And
Not a problem, brother.
there we go. And I know there was one little article that several articles we're talking about. Of course, we get long-winded, don't we, Cash?
Sometimes, yeah. I don't want to go on. I could probably go on rants for days about a lot of stuff. Just a lot of things to just make fun of in general. But
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah,
exactly.
I've already gone ahead and posted the link in the private chat.
Yeah, there we go. And we can continue on kind of a story here that we were talking about before. Of course, like I said, we were talking about several topics. One topic, of course, was we just started talking about, and we can go in here. And this is kind of a little bit different than most times that we have for my show, because generally it's not talking pop culture. But I've been really missing doing that, being that that we haven't had the Kings on for a while, because Mighty King himself is moving 2027, so we won't have that until about August. So we're going to talk a little bit about Chris Pratt and Thor: Love and Thunder. First time I've done this on my show. This is fantastic. And this report comes from Action News. I don't see Josh Wilding is the author of this report. Thor: Love and Thunder star Chris Pratt. Is he in that film?
yes, he's Star-Lord. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they had him in there. Addressers report that he was set to replace Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, the Guardian of the Galaxy star Chris Pratt. Address rumors he was once set to replace Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, explaining why it's a role he'd be reluctant to take over from the actor, and quite understandable too. With James Mangold's Indiana Jones 5 on the horizon, it's easy to forget that there was a time when it looked like Harrison Ford wouldn't reprise the role of the iconic adventurer. The actor recently celebrated his 80th birthday, and it's clear that next June's 5th chapter of this franchise will likely be Ford's last. So photos have confirmed that the visual effects will be used to de-age him for certain sequences. Let's see how that works. They haven't really gotten that fully down yet. But a few years ago, we heard that Chris Pratt was being eyed to take over the role. Hot off the success of Guardians of the Galaxy, that news didn't come as a surprise. However, fans weren't overly keen on the idea of Ford being replaced. And while reliable sources report that Pratt was being eyed to play Indy, it is believed the response to Solo, a Star Wars story, where Alden Einrich played Han Solo, put it into that idea. During a recent interview with Josh Horowitz, Pratt was asked about those Indiana Jones recasting rumors. It's clear that he was once under the consideration. So I didn't even know who Steven Spielberg is. Steven who? No, they aren't doing Indiana Jones with Harrison Ford, the actor joked, feigning ignorance. Here's the thing. All I know is that I once saw a quote from Harrison Ford, who said that when and I don't really know if it was really him, but was enough to scare me. He was like, "When I die, Indiana Jones dies," and I'm like, it's like I'm gonna get haunted by the ghost of Harrison Ford one day when he dies if I play the character. I don't know if that's anything that is real. I think people are capable of making mistakes, even if they're deadline. And while it makes sense for the younger actor to take over the role so the franchise can live on, it's easy enough to see how it could have backfired on Lucasfilm. It would have been a risk for Pratt, especially as his star was on the rise thanks to Guardians of the Galaxy and Jurassic World. Even with those, a failed Indiana Jones reboot could be disastrous. Do you think Chris Pratt could have made a good Indiana Jones? And before I continue on, I want to acknowledge the chat. I'm just bringing them up to speed here. But we have, of course, my super rich John Rendell out there. Hey, John Rendell, the old man, he crossed over. DJ Ronnie G across the hallway into my studio. Anno Moss as well. And well, Anno Moss, invite me. I'll be on your show.
He's joking again. I think I'm gonna have to start calling him Phil Jr. Dang it, Anonymous. Being crafty again.
I know he is. Pop Culture Republic. Zax is in the house. And so I think everybody. Pacific414, he's in the house there. Oh, wait a moment. You're also in the chat. What are you doing? I'm going to be like Gary from Pop Culture Republic, Minefield. What are you doing in the chat?
That's cool. So, that's cool. I like Gary Keith.
Yeah. And the Padawannabe, he's there. Hey, great to see you, Padawannabe. So we're discussing, of course, that was the last topic and didn't have time to talk about it on the other channel. So I think this is one that actually has a lot, we could discuss on quite a bit. So, gentlemen, you're my guests. What do you think?
I think he would have been a good replacement for Harrison Ford. He looks similar enough to him, and with his acting ability, you could definitely believe him as Indiana Jones. Now, he doesn't sound like Harrison Ford, obviously, but you'd be able to look past that because of that acting ability, the charm, the charisma.
Yep, I agree. It's pretty. It wouldn't be a bad choice at all. It's just, should Indiana Jones just basically be over pretty much with Harrison in terms of the movies? It can be. We'll see how this next one turns out. I mean, we're gonna talk about time travel, and we'll see how that turns out. It might be cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're going into kind of a dangerous situation with this new Indiana Jones film, because it already sounds like it's been a bloody mess with reshoots and Harrison Ford having an accident on the set, which he should stay away from the Lucasfilm stuff now.
Right?
It seems to be telling them that that's enough for you.
Yeah. But
I
mean, even though I would tell people with stuff like the Crystal Skull, even though there was problems with the plot, I just if you like that alien stuff, great. But there's other stuff you can like about that movie, but to actually have a cool plot again, like Raiders, of course, and The Last Crusade, and even Temple of Doom wasn't a terrible plot. It would be nice to see that again. So we'll see what happens.
And Pop Culture Republic put into the chat there something that I was gonna say. He stole my thunder. How dare you do that? This is my show. No, in all seriousness. But considering that the inspiration of Indiana Jones was James Bond, the James Bond films, and you could see the style of James Bond's in there, where you have that opening segment, and then it goes into the story. I could honestly see them continuing the Indiana Jones, but you have to have the right actor. I think Chris Pratt was. I think the big problem is with the young Star Wars, the Solo series. He wasn't anything like Harrison Ford, like Han Solo. And that was one of the problems. They kept on having an acting coach through the whole thing when they shouldn't have had an acting coach. And he didn't pull off a Solo. He didn't pull off that character.
Well, I mean, Harrison picked him, so he must. He was somewhat. He was all right. I thought more of the stars of Solo was, of course, Woody Harrelson. That man has just ridiculous range.
Yeah.
And the one who played young Lando. I thought he was the star. That I know he seemed to have a thing for his robot and stuff, which whatever, but.
Yeah, let's put a flashlight in the robot and have fun.
But you can also see that when Ron Howard took over that project, that it just, I think Solo is still a pretty good movie. I wouldn't say it's great, but I think it's a pretty good movie because I think Ron Howard tried to fix a lot of problems because the man can direct. He's quite versatile. Yes.
Oh yeah.
That was one of the that was one of the whole problems with Solo to begin with, is all the meddling.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of actually letting, the script form or, the production itself go along, a certain somebody had to get her fingers into everything.
Mhm. Yeah, and
And that ruined it.
again, yeah, it made a big mess of it. It wasn't necessarily that you had. Well, the big problems is with Solo is the character of Solo himself is mysterious,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
True.
and you're taking away that mystery by doing a show like that, doing a movie like that where he's young like that, and bringing him to you.
Mm-hmm.
Solo works on such a level that there's a past, there's a shadiness to the past, you get hints of it, and that's what makes the character. You don't need the explanation of it.
Yeah.
You don't need to see that, and that's one of the rooting factors. I don't need to see a story of a young Han Solo. A Han Solo in a younger era, like the Daily books, where
Mm-hmm.
that took place like a year or two before the Star Wars films. But that's pretty much Han Solo as we knew him. But we did not need an origin story, and they've
Probably
been doing
not.
it. And that's the problem with Lucasfilm. They keep on doing, and even George Lucas is a bit to blame of it. He took the helmet off of Boba Fett. Boba Fett needed to be mysterious, and of course,
Hmm.
and it came off with the fact that he was a clone, so he looked like Jango Fett. So we know what Boba Fett looked like, but the big mystery thing is he was a mystery.
He
We
was a
don't need,
mystery.
yeah,
It
and
wasn't
we don't,
terrible. It was just the way that, well, I don't know if you watched the Boba Fett show, but he took off
no,
his helmet way too much. Even Tim was like, "Is this Boba Fett?" I don't
hmm
know how I feel about this.
right,
He said
and
it himself in an interview, so yeah.
yeah, he didn't agree with it, and that's good because he knows what the character is.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what the
Yes, he
character
does. Oh
is,
yeah. Yeah.
and uh, you need to keep those mysteries out there. You don't need to have those answered because they keep once you get that, it's like they're not fulfilling. They're
Well,
unfulfilling.
that's why with like Halo, Master Chief, he's considered an iconic character, and
Hmm.
he doesn't take off his helmet. And even in a show that's not canon to the games, which I
Hmm.
understand, I still would not. If I'm working on that production, I'm not. If I take off his helmet, I don't show anything. He just takes off his helmet, but it doesn't show his face. Just
Hmm.
doesn't. And then he'll put it back on, and then he'll start talking. So.
And that's just it. It's like taking the helmet off of Judge Dredd. You don't take the helmet off of Judge Dredd. Uh,
Mm-mm.
Right.
it comes down to all those rules. But when it comes around to like Indiana Jones, I can see them continuing the Indiana Jones series, just like they did with the James Bond, if you have the right actor playing the part. Chris Pratt, I think, would be the perfect actor to continue on the part.
Yeah, I mean,
Now,
what are they going to do? Have Phoebe Waller-Bridge take over the mantle of Indiana Jones?
I
I
mean,
wouldn't
yeah,
put it past them.
the thing is, we don't really need an Indiana Jones. In a way, we already have one, and her name is Lara Croft. she's basically like more of the female version, I feel, of Indiana Jones.
The
She's
well,
character in the
cocky
games were
and she has
inspired by
this.
Indiana Jones.
mhm.
Yes.
Well, let's go back and take a little step back. Why not bring back Alan Quartermain
Why is that name? Why am I drawing a blank? I'm gonna go into
in the
my.
City of Gold?
Oh,
Richard
okay.
Chamberlain played him
Okay.
in a couple movies in the '80s, but then he's been
Mm.
around for a little bit. An old Paul Puro like that, an actual Paul Puro, Alan Quartermain. Why not bring him back? Sean Connery played him in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Hmm.
Um, but again, you have another adventurer type, of help inspiration of Indiana Jones. Uh, have him do Alan Quartermain. He'd do a great job doing that too. We don't need to necessarily. If you want to bring something back like that, and have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Introduce it to a new generation, but be a good custodian and do it right. Don't do it like all
Exactly.
these other companies.
Hmm. And you're right. That was the other one I was going to mention too. Doc Savage, Man of Bronze. Again, another pulp hero you can bring back and introduce to a new generation. You
Mm.
have all this rich gold mine of stuff, and I'm not against bringing things back and redoing them again. It's you have to do it with respect. I mean, a lot of these stuff is older, way older, and they need to be brought back and brought into our light. It's just how you do it and when you do it.
Yep, a lot of fans just need to work on these properties. I mean, you could take something; it wouldn't even matter if the funniest thing I always laugh about is how obsessed a lot of these studios are with representation, but for the majority of the time, they do such a poor job of it. And it's just if they actually really did a good job, like I think Black Panther is a good example of Disney doing a really good job with that. I
Mhm.
like that movie a lot. But do we need a Wakanda Forever film? I don't think so. I really don't. I think the first Black Panther movie is fine.
Mhm.
I just it's just really funny to me when these people are obsessed with certain parts of uh, entertainment or whatever. It's like, well, have you guys seen like I saw what was I think it was like called Hood Bebop or something. It was all these black people for Cowboy Bebop, but they honored the source material. And I
Yeah,
thought
you
that's
showed it to
awesome.
me.
Yeah, I just think that stuff is awesome. And so these are the people they should hire. And people even in the comments are like, these people are putting together 20-minute videos of something that they're so passionate about of a property, and they're doing a better job than Netflix. Like the fans really
Yeah.
are. That's why we were having this discussion about Star Wars. It's like, well, Star Wars is never going to really completely die, because the fans are still going to keep it alive, and they're going to
Mhm.
do their own fan fiction and their fan films. And I think that's awesome. I think these are the people that these companies should really hire because they have so much passion. And if somebody's going out of their way and doing a property, don't shun them and copyright them and stuff. Encourage them. I'm
Mhm.
hoping this new WBDC under Discovery wants to encourage more of these fans to build their properties and say, "Hey, you gave me your permission, so there shouldn't be a problem with this." Ask for their permission, say, "I want to do this," and
Mhm.
go from there. And all these shows can come back. I can tell you guys, Hawaii Five O. They changed some things. We learned more about the backgrounds of Garrett. We learned more about other characters, and it just worked. It worked. And so because you had still some of the same people that worked on the original series, but it just worked. But they brought back the Equalizer, and you go, I only know some about the Equalizer because I did some
Mhm.
research, and I said, I I don't get this.
Mhm. Well, yeah. I
Um,
mean, they want to change the property around so much. It's not a respect to the property,
yeah,
and and you have to be respectful to the property. You don't use it as I'm going to use this as some sort of platform to push something, and
yeah.
a lot of
And
times that's what they're doing.
if you're not going to respect the property that much, then go out of your way and develop these characters. The
Hmm.
whole they think these studios thinks that we don't want uh, certain genders or certain races or certain this or it's really funny to me. It's like, no, if you ask probably the majority of people, they would enjoy having. They don't care if it's representation. It's like Spawn is black and these characters are black. Blade, I was making a joke the other day as well. Maybe it's not really a joke. It's like if I look at Blade, the only thing I see of Blade is a black guy, just like to me, Wesker in Resident Evil is a white guy. It's just that's the character. That's part of the
Hmm.
character. And making him anything else just seems weird to me. You can do it, and the character can still feel like the character, but that's still part of his character. So I just don't understand these decisions. I mean, and even if they tried, these studios decide to try again and fail, something else would come out of it. That's what happens. I just wish there was more push of innovation like there used to be. I just think people have gotten lazy because of technology and just push innovation even more further. See what happens, even if you fail with your movie. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, like, the new Clerks film is basically about clerks in Clerks of Clerks. That's basically what the trailer is. They're just making Clerks again as a movie,
Mhm.
and it's just, I'm like, is this a good idea? I mean, it might kind of work. I don't know, but I just
Well,
wish, like,
look at the
certain,
recent
yeah,
reaction that Reddit had to Eric July and his
yes,
comic book, and
yes,
how
I
they're
know,
all in an uproar about it.
I know, it's just funny to
They're all
me.
in an uproar because he's having success.
Yeah,
He's giving people something that they want, and they don't want people to express their joy. So they're going to say, "Oh, he's part of a hate group."
yeah, and when you look at that animation, it's closer to what you saw in the older comics of Marvel, because that's how, I mean, Eric D. July, or Young Ripa, he is very passionate about comics. He's been reading comics for years, and the man has a lot of knowledge, just like Evan Van Sciver. And I bring up those men because he worked in the business for 20 years at DC. So I would just hope that they would hire people at DC again. And if you hire people like Evan Van Sciver again, I feel, at DC Comics and stuff, things would start going better. But people are being encouraged. And I know Ripa even put out a video. He's like, I want you guys to be great, as in, I want you to start your own passion, and I want to, and I
Mhm.
may end up supporting it. I'm sure that's the feeling that he has. But what we need to do, I feel, in the world in general, we need to encourage more people to find their passion and create new things. If these companies are not going in the direction that they want, then start creating your own stuff. Yes, it's hard. It's this, it's that, but it can be dang well rewarding too.
And I'm just going to take a quick break here to say, hey, Phil McCracken, who
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
in
I don't hate
exile.
redheads, Phil. Sorry. I know you like to
And
tell
you're
me
not exiled from the channel, Phil.
I
And of course, I want to welcome sweet Leah Rose, who came over as well. Good to see both of
Yes,
you here.
always good to see you both. Yeah, so I mean, I don't have all the answers. We're all humans, we're flawed, but we know what has been really interesting about characters over the years. And the way I have always seen characters, they need to be flawed, they need to be this. If I decided to be like, okay, I want to write a story about, I don't know, two gay men, they're going to have tragedies, we're going to make sure that they matter. That's the one thing that drives me crazy nowadays about a lot of entertainment. Do these characters matter? So if you're doing something like two gay characters, two straight characters, whatever, it doesn't matter. They could be a half helicopter for all I care. But do they matter? You know,
And that's the
you know.
important thing is the character
Mhm.
development.
Yes,
Why are we connected to this character?
exactly.
What drives us? I mean,
Yep.
Luke Skywalker hit so many people, especially those who had dreams, and he was striving for dreams and to get out of the small town.
Mm-hmm.
Same,
Yes.
the same thing that George Lucas basically was experiencing, being in
Mm-hmm.
Modesto,
Yep.
California. So we identify with that character.
Yes.
We identify with Indiana Jones because we have a sense of wanderlust
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and adventure, and finding secret stuff. There, even though it's not us, but it
Right.
resonates a little bit there.
Yes.
Captain Kirk. The fact that here you have a man who has his flaws, but is also willing to listen in
Mm-hmm.
to observations and make a decision off of it, good or bad.
Yep.
Uh, you know, we can these are ideals that we look up to, and make things that matter. If you just have it that, hey, here we are, gotta love us. It's like, well, why do we gotta love us? Because we told you so. Well,
Right.
that's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
What builds you? What got you to this point? What drives you? What makes us connect with you?
Why am
And
I going on this journey with this character who already has all the answers right at her disposal or his disposal?
mm-hmm,
Yep.
exactly. And Legion of Myth, welcome on board. I mean, as it goes, which is great about the Sherlock Holmes stories is, as I
Mm-hmm.
always said, and other people have said, the main character is Watson, not Sherlock Holmes, because he's recounting
Right.
the story. And it's like, Sherlock already has the answers, but now it's the explanation of how he got there. And now we're hearing it through the voice of Dr. Watson. And
Yep.
and that's the important thing. When we identify with Watson, we can see where Watson is and how he's learning off of Sherlock Holmes. We're learning through him. Again, these characters matter, and we're getting that explanation of what's to drive. And of course Dr. Watson's analyzing of Sherlock and trying to figure him out himself.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with having flawed characters.
No.
It's what makes us who we are. I have flaws. Yeah, there are things I wish I could change. And
Yep.
I am working on changing some of the things I can change, but there are certain things you can't change. And you should have characters who reflect real people. I don't mean I want to see myself on screen. What I'm saying is we should have characters who, when we meet them, they start off one way. But as we go on this journey with them, they start developing, they start changing, they start learning.
Yes.
They grow like we grow through life.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say hi to Rough Girl.
Hello again, Rough Girl.
We just continued on. We just crossed the hallway into the different studio. That's all. Well, I mean, if you take a look at the old mythologies, and the gods were nothing but basically normal people with mighty powers, and they had their flaws. Whether it's Nordic mythology, Egyptian, Greek, Roman, uh, the gods themselves were flawed, which of course people could identify with their gods that way on there. They had their foibles, and even when it comes down to heroes, I mean, take a look at Hercules. I mean, that's not necessarily talk about a flawed character in mythology. You got that there. Sigurd in the Ring Cycle. Of course, referring to Wagner there, but the actual saga of the Volsungs. Again, you have flawed characters. There's flawed connections. Arthur himself is a flawed character. He has foibles, but look at the mythological level that he's on. And you see that throughout the ages. I mean, you go back to King David in the biblical times. Boy, was he flawed. I mean, he basically has one of his best loyal generals murdered so he can have the guy's wife. I mean, you can't get more flawed than that. So stories have that, and it's not that we're being represented, it's things that we can identify, and that's the two big different words.
Definitely. Yep. And so when these people, especially now, I think when they do these self-inserts, like things, if you guys ever read I Am Not Starfire, I used that because that was just a horrible self-insert. And you read any of that, and even people showing you on their videos, you're reading this. It's not... It's just like, if you're going to do a self-insertion, then make your character interesting, or make it something that you wish you could do that you can't. And it's just it's just amazing to me that a lot of these studios lately, at least the people they hire, they're so gung-ho about wanting this and only this, but it's just it's such a mess, because self-inserts or just character development in general is just, you can just keep building these characters. And so I just, like, if it's like, oh, I want to self-insert myself, it's like, well, I want to add more than what I can even do in life that I can't do. And I think that would be very cool. Or just don't do a self-insert at all. You don't insert yourself into this. But if you're going to, make it as interesting. Don't do something where you feel like, oh, the cheerleader and I need to be in a relationship, and I hate my mom because she's Starfire and she got this. Is ridiculous. And then think people are going to like that. Some people may, but it's not good. There's so much more you can do.
And good night, Rough Girl. Love you,
Yep.
and I'm praying for you still. Hope everything turns out. If you're still there, hope everything it goes good for you. You're still in our thoughts and prayers.
Oh
And of
yeah.
course, I want to
Have a good
greet
one, rough girl.
Brett Cohen.
Have a good night,
Welcome
rough
to
girl.
and Brett Cohen, welcome to the chat. Don't be don't be strange. Be a stranger, but don't be strange. Or did I say that wrong? Oh, who knows? But we're all strange around here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like everyone always talks about KK with Star Wars being a problem, and one of the big problems actually is Pablo Hidalgo. He's part of the kind of the one of the big gurus of their story groups and such like that. I mean, when you're so full of yourself that you fan fiction yourself as the guy who designed the architect of the Jedi Temple, there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That that is not character building. That I mean, fan fiction yourself is like that is pathetic. It show I don't know. There's just something
Well,
wrong with
it's
that.
just there's just so much they could have done. I mean, you just with the just characters in general. And the funny thing is with Star Wars, like you watch something if you ever want to watch Resistance, and you see what they did with Phasma, and then you see what they did with her in the sequels, and you like, why didn't they do more with her? She's obviously quite menacing. So
Hmm.
it's so many wasted opportunities. You want to learn more about these characters, and they just like, oh, they're strong in the Force, or it could even be a guy. It doesn't even matter, but like there needs to be training. And when you think about the Force, there should be scenes of training. And
Hmm.
I would like to see, it doesn't matter, as I said, it could be a person who identifies as a helicopter meets a trash can. It doesn't matter. Does this person get training?
Hmm. Well,
There are days I
and
identify as a Klingon.
Yes.
and
I
you
can
do it
see that.
well, by the way. Well, I mean, I just saw a meme the other day, or today or yesterday, but they, from the Force Awakens, the guy yells out "traitor," and proceeds to try to beat on Flynn, and they go,
Mm-hmm.
"Isn't it amazing how they put all this effort into a silver-clad Phasma to be this big, menacing, rememberable character, and yet this guy who has like 10 seconds, 15 seconds of screen time is more remembered. And that's just it. I mean, it's a little thing like that because there was something behind the character. There was a passion. We saw Flynn yelling out "traitor" and going out after it. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, now we have ourselves a character. You didn't get that with
Mm-hmm.
Phasma. She
Mm-hmm.
was
Oh,
just
That's
kind
and,
of
right.
and
walking
even
around.
Yes.
even
Yes.
with Finn, they wasted Finn.
Oh
Yes.
God, they did.
Yeah, they did.
They
I
did.
feel bad for John Boyega. Yeah. Even though
Oh,
he got
and
paid, I still feel bad
well,
for
yeah,
him. Yeah.
yeah, but he even talks about it how he feels he got screwed in the whole thing, and he did.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yes.
so many wasted opportunities with these characters that they had in
Yes.
there, and that's what makes
Yep.
me sad.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't know what to say. I mean, I am Starfire. I'm not looking for someone to be a hero, someone like me out there,
Right.
but I want someone to be my eyes, and that's the important thing. The
Mm-hmm.
characters are like Batman and Robin. In many ways, Robin's our eyes in the Batman world.
Mm-hmm.
In the older days, Superman basically, Jimmy Olsen was kind of our eyes into the Superman
Yes.
world.
Yes. It was.
That's what I'm looking for. We're looking at the hero and we're seeing it through these characters' eyes. I don't want to be looking through necessarily the hero's eyes. I want to see how the hero reacts to things.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so it's like I don't want the hero to be my eyes. I want somebody else to be the eyes. Just like, of course, Watson is the eyes for Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. That's
Um,
why those like Sherlock Holmes movies weren't bad. They were enjoyable.
mhm.
Watson was still Watson. Sherlock Holmes was still Sherlock Holmes, and those movies. I think the second one had some slow motion that was probably not necessary, but a
Mhm.
little bit, I think, if I remember correctly. But they were enjoyable, and they still felt like Sherlock Holmes.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they started out good with that Sherlock series, but then they really fell apart on there. What they had with that one. But the best representation, Jeremy Brett. I mean, You watch those Jeremy Brett shows, and you really get a sense of Sherlock Holmes and a good Watson.
Mm-hmm. And with this new direction with Discovery, I'm hoping that we're gonna finally get some stuff that we've seen from the older comics or whatever. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think the Batman was a bad film. It's just I wanted I don't know, I just didn't care about this Selena Kyle. It was just her attitude. Like, she's always had an
Mm-hmm.
attitude, but I just didn't like this attitude as much. But the seeing Batman doing detective work, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like the grittiness of it. I don't know. I like Paul Dano. Did I like him as the Riddler? I don't know. It's funny when my friends also say, well, we need the Joker in Batman. Do we, though? Do we always need the Joker? No. I would love to see different villains. I would love to see, we still have not gotten Clayface in live
No,
action. He has a
that would be
very
great.
interesting story.
Mm-hmm. How about Killer Croc?
Yes. Killer Croc's
Yeah.
pretty cool, too. Yep.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many villains that you have that are interesting in Batman that we have not seen in live action. And of course, seeing Batman doing detective work, yeah, that's because that's what he's supposed to be, a detective.
Yes.
It makes me wonder what it would be like if we did a Batman film that was actually uh, a period piece. In other words, going back to the 30s and the 40s, where he didn't necessarily have all the toys. He was doing hard, gritty detective work, and in a hard, gritty town. I think that'd be
Mm-hmm.
fascinating to see.
Yep.
Like they did in the old comics. I don't think that'll ever happen, but
Yeah, it'd be cool.
It
that
would
would be
truly go back to Batman's origins.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And we don't always need the Joker. I guess tiring, and definitely we don't need Jared Leto's Joker.
His
Oh,
Joker was just too flamboyant for me in
mm-hmm.
Suicide Squad. I just didn't. I know the man can act, but
Yeah, he can.
I just was like, no, I'm just not really feeling this. And a lot of people like the second Suicide Squad, and I understand because James Gunn and Zach was involved, but I just didn't. There's some characters I liked in there, but I just didn't enjoy that movie very much. I found it boring at times, and I felt the jokes were flat. They were making all these, I guess, dick jokes and so on, that I was like, well, James Gunn, you're known for these funny stuff in Guardians of the Galaxy, so I want to see a more adult version, not just stupid dick jokes. I mean, is that what we do for only adult versions or adult version of that?
Yeah, that's
It
what
was
they
just weird.
teach now.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Dick
it was
jokes.
recycled, and yeah.
Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
just it, and that's the one thing that concerns me with what they're talking about. What doing like this black series of of superheroes for DC, where they're R rated and all that, and I get it, but I think that they're going to start uh, relying on that far too much. And then the last thing we have is we don't have superhero movies for kids.
True.
Superhero movies should be for kids.
Yeah, I don't think DC Pets is. I would be like telling kids to go see that one. I don't know. I think it's just too silly.
Yeah,
I think that's
but
probably the newest one. It's animated though, but yeah.
hmm but we should have the superhero films where again where no matter how old you are, you get something out of it. And in many ways, the '89 Batman is one of those. I think that you have on there. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Superman the movie with Christopher Reeve. Again, it doesn't matter how old you are, it's enjoyable.
Yes.
And when you start going, oh, we got to make R-rated films now and go this direction, you've really pigeonholed yourself,
Yeah.
and you're not getting that welcome mat for the young generation. You want
Right.
these generation to come in. You want to hand them a comic book, get them all excited, and then they can't go necessarily see the film because it's too gritty, too much language, TNA and all that stuff. Which is
Mm-hmm.
we need not that I'm sitting back saying we have to have family time, but It should be something that's all encompassing. That's what these stories were. All
Mhm.
grabbing everybody.
I mean, you hear the current showrunners for Star Trek when they created Prodigy saying, we now have a Star Trek show geared for kids, a show where kids will actually understand what's going on. And that's incorrect because for many of us, we were at a young age. We were 6, 7, 8 years old when we first got into the original series or Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, however old you were, and whatever show was on, you got into it because it grabbed your attention. It didn't have to be an animated cartoon to grab your attention. There was something about Star Trek that grabbed you, and it's not there anymore.
Mhm. Right. It was something unique. It was not in the same mold of what people were seeing science fiction. They're used to seeing stuff like Lost in Space in the silliness that the
Mhm.
show became. I mean, which is kind of sad because when you see the first original pilot that they had, the black and white one, it's like, whoa, this would be a good, real serious show. But then it changed path. You got Doctor Smith, a robot, and then everything is it goes silly and centered around Will Robinson and Robot and Doctor Smith, and then you have the Carrot Revolution, the Vegetable Revolution, or whatever. Uh, you know, they they go into the silliness of it. Uh, it was such a different uh, thing to grab people and gave something new. And again, within those parameters, Star Trek could be doing the same thing yet today, but they're not doing it in those parameters.
Very true.
Yeah.
I mean, we discussed it before. Those who didn't see the show before, of course, I did put the link. I'll put the link in again for the other previous show. That Star Trek really expanded what the universe was by having Deep Space Nine. It was not your typical Star Trek show, but it was still Star Trek,
Mhm.
and it can't be argued that that was in Star Trek. It might not have been your Star Trek, but it was still Star Trek. Same thing with Voyager. Same thing with Enterprise. It might not have been your Star Trek, but it was still Star Trek. And I did put that link on the on Pacific 414 show that you had before us. So if you want to watch that after this, please do so. Because Pacific 414 is a great guy. He paid me.
uh,
Continuing on kind of the thing, a few weeks took a while. Well, that was a slow burn. I'm going to tell you. Cash, I want to ask you something here because a few weeks ago, and we kind of DM'd each other a little bit about this. You saw Lightyear.
yes,
You missed
unfortunately.
you missed Tuesday Night Trek for Lightyear. I think we kind of mocked you
Yeah.
for that a little bit.
Yes, I heard. It's okay.
Why, Cash? Why? I told you what movie to go see, Cash.
I
But
know.
no.
Yeah, well, my brother, we went on a Tuesday, and we he for whatever wanted to see Lightyear, and people are busy, and um, he didn't have anybody to go with, and I didn't want him to go by himself, so I went to the movie. So we paid $7 to watch this movie, and I am actually a big Pixar fan, but this movie was literally a disaster. I literally I regret. I want to keep saying literally. I regret actually seeing this film because it was just a mess. But at least I got to go to Jersey Mike's afterwards, so that was something.
Yeah.
But yes, people have. But when people say, "Oh, well, why haven't you seen Top Gun Maverick?" and like you should see this, it's like, well, when that trailer first came out, my brother and I felt like, why is this necessary? And I mean, I'm glad people enjoyed it, but do I regret seeing it? Uh, Lightyear, yes. there's not many regrettable films that I've seen recently. So, because I usually pick stuff that I like to see. Like I saw Gucci. I thought Gucci was good. I saw Nightmare Alley. That was actually a remake. I can't believe the original came out in '47.
Wow.
It was on recently. But yeah, no, Lightyear as a Pixar film, when I've seen Soul, which was really good, especially if you like jazz. I've seen Cars, but even Cars 2, which was like basically Mater's Greatest Tales, this movie in terms of quality was just, it's not necessary. And I agree with another friend of mine. It's just not a necessary film. So I would just tell people to stay away from it. But with Top Gun, where people get mad and they go, you should see this, you need to see this. Like, I feel with these films, you can watch them or you don't have to watch them. But Lightyear, at least I can say I only paid $7 for. But yeah, it's a mess. And Crit has been on my ass about it before too. Why don't you see this? Why don't you see this? I mean, I don't know. I will probably end up seeing Top Gun Maverick, but when I first saw that trailer,
You should have watched it.
My feeling was that why did we need this? And I'm glad it looks like it turned out really well after all these years. But I'm not upset that that I haven't seen Maverick yet. But I would just tell people to stay away from Lightyear, or as I like to call it, Light Mess. I have some other names for it, but yeah, no, it was bad. I can't say it wasn't. I mean, people can see whatever they want. I'm not going to hate people if they see Lightyear or Minions, but Felix or Theology from EBN's channel, and somebody who I also know, said Minions is great for kids and adults, and I've enjoyed the Minions film. But
yeah, he came on to Pop Talk and we asked him about it.
Yes. And he said it was great. So that's probably the movie like I'm going to go see next. Now other people are, well, why haven't you seen Maverick yet? And, I still may see Maverick, but people will say, oh, you have to see in the theaters. It's like, you can see whatever you want. But I can always say that Lightyear, if this is the direction that Pixar is going, it's not a good one. It really isn't. That movie just makes you feel stupid, and no Pixar movie should ever make you feel stupid. It should always be fun and enjoyable for adults and kids. But whatever.
Well, yeah.
But yes, if I don't see Top Gun soon, Baron, I'm sure some people will get their pitchforks and their torches out and call me stupid.
I got mine ready, Cash. I got mine ready.
I'm not forcing you or criticizing you for that at all. I'm not seeing it. I haven't seen it yet. The Long Suffering has. I haven't seen it yet. I'll probably see it sometime. In fact, this is what she had to say. She said she saw Top Gun, thought it was a great update. It was really good, but not necessary. So,
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, a good film, but not necessary. I think was the nostalgia thing. And of course, I'm a big Pixar fan. I mean, here I was going seeing these Pixar films. With the former and all that, and it's like I'm feeling like please don't think I'm that creepy old guy going seeing these films with kids. I'm not. I love these films, that one, and also DreamWorks, like the Shrek films and such. What was the biggest flaw that you found with Lightyear?
The plot. The plot was pretty awful, and I would say the plot, even the political agenda that was in there was, it was silly, but it didn't kill the film for me. It was the plot. I also just felt like the characters that Lightyear had, they were just really stupid. And there was even jokes that was recycled. I'm like, this is not what Pixar has done in the past. Who's writing this now? And it just seemed like the film just didn't care. And so I can see why it lost money. I really believe there's a few Pixar films I haven't seen, but I really believe this is probably the worst Pixar movie I've ever watched. And that's saying something, because I've usually enjoyed these Pixar movies. They had an interesting story, everything from WALL-E, from Inside Out, and the list goes on and on. Even Brave was interesting, and I know people have mixed feelings about that. Cars 1, Cars 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. My mother is a NASCAR fan, and she went to see Cars 2 with my daughter when she was younger, obviously, and she was disappointed because she was expecting more of the NASCAR film when it was, Mater's Big Adventure, so she was disappointed with that one.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it's just animation should be, top notch, and if this is supposed to be the number one animated studio in the world, and the film still looked good, Baron, the animation still looks, the quality is still there, but
Mhm.
just the Lightyear plot, it was just stupid. The
So it was poor
characters,
execution.
yes, it just wasn't, it wasn't necessary, and I just didn't care about Chris Evans being Lightyear, but I I could have just let my brother go by himself, but I was like, well, I'll go with him, so he
Mhm.
doesn't go to the film alone because his friends are busy or whatever, time of the day. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, it was. I regret it.
Did Chris Evans playing the voice of Lightyear kind of throw you
Yes.
off a little bit?
Yeah, it just, I don't know. This film just wasn't necessary. It really
Mhm.
wasn't. So I hope Pixar goes back and think, because Turning Red actually didn't turn out too bad. So I thought Onward was good, but I know that bombed too in the box office, but it was also, I think, around the time it was more on Disney Plus. Like, this needs to be in the theaters, but
Mhm.
if they
Well,
want to
that's the
keep
thing
going in
about
this direction, then not good.
that's the thing about Onward
Right.
is that it had a very short theatrical release, and
Mm-hmm.
that's all due to the coof.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's just, it's a mess of a thing. Even Tom Hanks was confused about it, but because of
Mhm.
Tim Allen's politics, and they're different than Disney, they don't want those people around usually. They just want people to have usually the same politics. Though I think there are people at work at Disney do have different politics, but they're going to probably stay quiet just
Oh yeah,
because they
they
don't
do.
want to lose their job and stuff. And so, I can understand that to an extent, but people should be
Mhm.
able to speak their minds, even in companies, even when they're getting paid. But people are just so sensitive about so many different things nowadays that it's crazy. But I just, I don't know. Uh, Lightyear is just really a mess. It just is. But when I do finally see Maverick, I'll let you guys know. I know some
Well,
people want to kill me about that since I haven't
oh,
seen that. Or that I've seen Lightyear before Maverick. It just makes me laugh. I mean, I've seen a lot of quality stuff. I would highly recommend the Old Man. The Old Man is just really good
mhm.
as a
It's a
show.
great series.
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
the unfortunate thing about the old man is that it's only a limited run series, and after this last episode, I want a lot more than just 7 episodes of one season. I want this to be a 24 episode season. That's how good it is.
Hmm. Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I mean, when it comes around to like light years, like why didn't they, if they didn't want to go with Tim Allen, they could have gone with Patrick Warburton, who played him in the TV, no, the TV show.
Oh, that's true. Yes, they could have.
I mean, honestly. Uh,
Definitely. That is true. Yeah.
uh, so I mean, I don't know.
Well,
Oh,
they missed the point, because if you go back and even watch the old animated show, these characters are quirky. They're not
mhm,
stupid, and they don't make jokes over and over again about a pen. There was
mhm,
just, they wanted these characters to mean something, and there's even the movie that came out even before Lightyear. That was Tim Allen in that? I think he did do the voice of that. It was a number of years ago, and that is enjoyable. But I mean, if you guys want me to spoil it, I can tell you what the plot is
for which one?
for Lightyear.
Go ahead.
What the biggest problem that I would say is the fact that we who the Zurg was actually an older Buzz Lightyear. and I thought that was just so stupid.
Yeah.
Zurg was always just, a robot, an evil robot, and who wanted to take over the galaxy, if I remember. And so he was older, and because of the time gap, and it was just silly. I was like, this is a stupid plot, Pixar. You should be ashamed of yourself. So
They should.
They really should. They should be ashamed of themselves. I mean, that's one of the main reasons that movie just lost money. It's just not that good. It's just I don't even know if I would say it's mediocre. I was quite disappointed, and I didn't think that movie was going to be that bad, Baron. And Pacific, I really didn't think it was going to be that bad. Seeing it, my gosh, it was terrible. Yeah, but people always yell at me, certain people, for seeing that and not seeing Maverick yet. So.
I only yelled at you because you missed Tuesday Night Trick. That's all.
I know.
He's talking about me, folks. I kept telling Cash to go see Maverick. What does he do?
There's a few other people too. Chris got mad at me also.
He goes and sees Lightyear.
And I do regret it.
This is something.
Listen to your Pacific414 overlord.
414 knows all. Listen to him. He is the mighty.
No. The old man said the old man series is crap. You really think so, man? Are you sure?
Did he even?
Oh no! Are you thinking they made a series about you, old?
I think so. Yeah.
No. Is that what you're getting at? Because if you like a really interesting cat and mouse game, you should definitely watch The Old Man on FX. I highly recommend that series. I highly recommend that.
What can I say?
It stinks.
No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
You gotta watch it. I mean, if you're a big fan of Jeff Bridges and John Lithgow, those two guys, they not only carry the series, they are the series.
Yes, they are. Both of them. Yes. And the supporting cast is really interesting too. It's just a really good show. And if you guys are fans of Breaking Bad, I highly recommend Better Call Saul. There's only a few episodes left, but what a great show that is. And it's finally, after 6 seasons, finally nominated for Best Drama. Actually, it might be the second time, but yeah. I don't think it's going to win, but yes.
When it comes around to Pacific414, this is what we have to say.
It's good to be the king.
So you have to listen to him. He knows all. He's all.
I've got a soundbite that I'd love to play if you don't mind. I'm just gonna find the right one.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right,
look, you can find it. This little button pressing.
Yeah, I got too many different sound effects. So let's see. Hold on, I'm gonna mute myself so I can find the right one.
Hey, here's a first. He muted himself. Hey Phil, if you're out there, take a hint. No, just kidding. Hail
to the king, baby.
Yes. Duke Nukem. Duke Nukem. You gotta love old Duke Nukem.
Yes.
So, here, this is an interesting thing that you put in the private chat here about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let me bring that up because
it was brought to my attention by our own friend Paul from Fandomology.
Oh, okay. Oh, Paul. I was surprised. I figured this would have come from Brandon, but Paul's out. Out Brandon. All of it. If people are not familiar out there, that's in the chat and such like this. I cannot pronounce his last name, but
Mignogna.
Mignogna.
Yeah.
So he's a voice actor. He's done a lot of voice work for animated shows being dubbed into the United States. He also did a great Star Trek series called Star Trek Continues. Um, on that show, he had not only did he have Chris Doohan on the show, but he also had Grant. How you pronounce that from who passed away from MythBusters as Sulu in that show, and he was unjustly accused of part of the Me Too stuff. Basically, a bunch of people saying stuff that there was absolutely no proof of, or whatnot. He was being castigated. He was being tossed off to the side, losing work, especially one of his bread and butters doing anime. And now seeing that he's coming back in there is a great news. I'm glad to hear that. And Anime Matsuri held a special live stream on their YouTube channel on Sunday to announce that they created their own dubbing studios, which they need new dubbing studios. Just listen to Brandon. The new dubbing studio started in November of 2021 and have already recorded started recording. Denise and John Lee from Anime Matsuri traveled to Japan to meet up with Nippon Animation for a collaboration. Nippon Animation gave Anime Matsuri two anime movies that have never been dubbed in America before. The two movies are Genbanjo, I don't know, and then Zip Shimizu. They're described as anime for all ages. Being an ADR director himself, Vic Mignogna was asked by Anime Matsuri to become part of the new dubbing studio. I think this right here has been a giant, giant win across the board. Because people have been complaining about the wokeness with the dubbing of stuff that's been coming over from Japan and anime, and the fact that Vic was tossed off to the side because of those they're false allegations. No one can bring forward any proof of everything. It's just people being snide. Even the people that were on Star Trek Continue wrote this big letter castigating them. You talk about knives in the back for Caesar. But they went out and they asked him because they know he's very good at the job he's doing. So I think when it comes around to that, I think this is going to be this is one of those steps in those right directions.
It should be good. I mean, if you watch any of that, it's crazy. I didn't know anything about it until a few years ago, and I looked into it. And Christopher, excuse me, Sabat, he threw him under the bus, and it's like, dude, I mean, I'm not there, but it just seems like there's just so much drama. And when this came about, Monica came out. Monica Rawl, I think is her last name, right?
Monica Real. I think that's who you pronounce her last name.
Thank you. I want to make sure I'm saying those right because Phil's around. But he'll be like, no. But yeah. I'm like, there's just so much drama in the VA community. Like these people, I don't know. When you read about it, I don't know if it was Monica, the one who had hugged Vic, and they were friends and like around the hotel, and she felt uncomfortable. Like you read this stuff, it's like this is just so silly to me. You people are grown-ups, you should be able to figure this out. And so with Vic coming back, it's like, they've already started pouncing on Twitter. Well, Twitter's a cesspool mostly, and as we know, and a lot of these social media platforms are because of the people and the rules and the other nonsense. But there can be some good things about social media. There can advertising your stuff and things, but yeah, it's really odd. Like, can't you people figure out your problems and fix this? It's really ridiculous.
Well, I mean, it come down to it. I think it has to come down to politics and personal beliefs with Vic.
Yep.
Because I saw the interview when Star Trek Continues came to an end. Rod Roddenberry was praising the series closing and saying this is the perfect ending. This should be official ending for Star Trek because it was that good. And Vic came out and he was talking about. He said, I'm a conservative Christian, But we have people who are this on the show. We have people like that. We have this
Right.
great, multitudes of thoughts, which was what Star Trek was about.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He
Multitude
brought
of
that
thoughts and ideas.
right, and that's what helped make that work. But of course, he had to sit back and say that. So what happens? He becomes a target.
Yes.
But yet he's praising other people. He's praising the fact that they help make things grow and think and all that. Nothing but praise. Nothing but praise. I've never heard really a nasty thing out of his mouth when he's been in these interviews and such. I mean, it was so bad when he wasn't even a guest. He was just going to be at one of the tables at a
Mm-hmm.
convention, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, no, he can't be around here.
Yeah.
It's like, and they're putting stuff. We never invited him to the convention. Like an ant standing on a turd hill, banging his
Mm-hmm.
chest.
Well, and people like Christopher Sabat, and there's a lot you can thank these people for their voice acting work. But there was a story that I remember reading about how there was this COVID center for COVID testing, and they said, "Oh no, we're going to move that so we can do a convention." Well, that doesn't sound right to me.
No, it
Hmm.
doesn't.
It sounds terrible. What the heck? What the heck, man?
I'm trying to
Awful.
make sense of the world. Come on, Cash. You know better than that.
I
That's why Cash
know,
money,
I
not credit.
know. Right? Yeah. Not credit. I'll take your credit, Baron. I just won't take
Oh.
Nerd Boreals.
Is he even here, Nerd Boreal? Okay.
I don't know. You never know. He could be around somewhere.
Yeah, he lurks. He's a lurking man, and I don't blame him. He's a shifty guy. Looks like Michael
And I'm sorry, I'm just laughing at Phil in the chat saying he's not good enough for Pacific anymore. I am sad. Dude.
Such a drama king, man.
He's
Such
bringing
a
it
drama
into
king.
my channel, but then again, like I said, this is a crossover event, so you
Right,
can
the crossover event. No.
the big crossover event,
Yes,
the mighty
yes.
one. I mean,
Yes,
earth shattering,
definitely.
on that one. I know. I think that's a good thing that Vic was asked. They went to him specifically, not even an addition thing. It's like, hey, we want you part of this.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You can hear heads imploding in the woke community. You can, this
Yes.
is a slap in the face to them.
Yes, it is.
How dare you? How dare you ask him to be a part of your company, part of your endeavor? How dare you?
Mm-hmm.
Re all the way home.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, I don't care what his, if he was a liberal atheist and they did that to him, I would be fighting for him.
Exactly. That's right. It's not right. And then, you still have the case of Dustin Hoffman. Well, he's pretty much been canceled because they said he did this stuff on Tootsie. Well, what did he do on Tootsie? What exactly did he do on Tootsie? Oh, he harassed women. Well, what exactly did he do?
Yeah.
That's what I would like to know.
And why are you going to wait 30, 40 years to bring up these allegations instead of bringing them up right then and there? Why? Because you were afraid back then? Well, guess what? Waiting 30, 40 years, it means squat.
Right.
The thing is
I know that's just my opinion, but it means squat.
This goes for anybody. There was even allegations where men and other men were harassing each other at work at Naughty Dog. That was brushed under the rug after a few days, but that was actually a story. That was an actual story. Anybody can be harassed. Yes, I agree. Women obviously get harassed more than men, but people just need to be more grown-ups again, because I hate to break it to people, but not everything about the Me Too movement was good. I know I'm going to get lynched and whatever, but I'm just stating the facts.
Well, I think a lot of it wasn't good, unfortunately, because it turned into a witch hunt.
Right.
And there, and it hurt those that did suffer And that's the thing, and that's one of the things that irritates me, because when you start having it getting so carried away, people just start dismissing it, and then things get that shouldn't be dismissed are dismissed and not even looked at anymore.
Yes.
It's a horrible thing. And Dustin Hoffman, I mean, if he was so bad on Tootsie, why don't we have it continue on for each one of the other films? There should be, as he goes along, uh, it should be, you should be hearing, oh, that when he was on this film, or when he was on this one, when he was on Pan, when he was the Peter Pan movie, or Hook, or
Hmm.
whatever it is, you should been, there should be some sort of trail uh to bring up Cosby. The thing is, back in the day, we knew Cosby was a little on the, straight off the path.
Hmm.
It was one of those, knowing secrets, even when he was doing the Cosby Show and all that. But
Hmm.
we always sat back and said, well, if that's the case, well, that's between him and Camilla. Well, of course, as it goes along, we start finding out there was some other little problems that happened off of that, which, has sullied his name on there. But the thing is,
Right.
there was already some sort of track record of something that
Right.
people knew about. If
And yeah, go ahead.
But no, yeah.
Oh, I don't want to interrupt you, Baron.
Oh no, you're my guest.
I know. But yeah, well, with Cosby, I have a friend who works at this casino, and Cosby's gone there many times, and he's had great interactions with Cosby. And I feel this was for a long time. But it's also with these situations that happen. How many of these women are also just looking for money? Yes, I'm sure things of this could happen with these people, because you got the Kevin Spacey and different people, but
Mhm.
especially Harvey Weinstein, which ran amok for I don't know how many years, and a lot of people in Hollywood knew about that. But
A lot of people in Hollywood knew about it, but they still praised him at the award ceremonies.
exactly,
Yeah.
and so Cosby, I think also with these situations with these Me Too, if it's not like the gymnast situation, which was horrible. I'm
Mhm.
glad that man got exposed. That was horrible what he was doing to those young women. Horrible.
Mhm.
Even in front of their parents, because he said it was some kind of stretching exercise. Like, it's just awful. If you guys watch the documentary of the gymnast, my gosh, horrible.
Yeah.
But this other stuff, like how many of these people are just looking for money? Who is ever being harassed? Saying jumping on that bandwagon. Now, I don't know what Cosby did or what Cosby didn't do, but it's just a lot of it just sounds really bad. But it's been 30 years. Same with stuff like the Michael Jackson stuff, and I know that can be thing. But Michael Jackson, even when he was alive, the guy just seemed like a weird dude. And of course, he had family issues and with
Mhm.
his dad, but the guy
Yeah.
bleached his skin, and it's just
Yeah.
I don't know. I really feel torn with Michael Jackson. There's a lot of great music he gave people, but he had kids in his bed. I mean, this has been documented. So
Right.
it's just weird. Why do you
Mhm.
need to be weird like that? I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way.
Well, a lot of people were saying that he was trying to recapture his lost childhood because of his dad. Is
Mm,
what one person was sit back saying on there. But
yeah.
as it goes, when he was actually accused of something,
Hmm.
um, it was both ways. It comes down to the thing. Michael Jackson, paid out of court to the
Yeah.
stepfather, and he accepted.
Uh-huh.
Now, my thing goes, okay, it looks bad that you paid him off because it starts making you look guilty. But I go to the stepfather, going,
Hmm.
"Oh, you took the money," and it was me. If I was the stepfather, and that happened to my kid, I'd be wanting to nail him to the wall and go full to the court. But you're taking the money, so it looks
Hmm.
like that's what you're just wanting is the money. So both
Hmm.
ways, it looks bad. It looks bad
Hmm.
both ways.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Mhm. So, as that goes, you never want to meet your heroes, but some of the heroes are nice people, and then you have people that are scumbags. I mean, look at Roman Polanski.
I
They're
know.
all still,
And Hollywood is still protecting him.
yep.
Mhm.
It's weird. It's just bizarre. It's just like the Harvey Weinstein. Yeah, we didn't know for years he was doing this, but look at the people he was connected with, and then they all want to abandon him. Of course, but they knew what was going on for years. And the casting couch, I hate to break it to people, but that's been going on for years. For
I also,
years.
It's not a
I
recent
also,
development.
no, and I hate to also burst some people's bubbles. There's some women that walked in there knowing they could use that, and they
Of
were using
course.
it for themselves.
Yes.
They weren't going in with blinders and all innocence.
No.
I mean, there were not to say that there wasn't. There were women
Right.
that were
Right.
literally
Of
taken
course.
advantage of,
Yes.
and boys and men.
Yep.
But there was others that knew that this is my way up.
Yep.
It's the oldest trick in the book.
If this is how I can advance my career, I'm going to do it.
Right.
And then they go crying about it after they've achieved that success. And
Well, did you guys watch the movie Judy at all? I know some people have mixed feelings about that, but Judy Garland, she was treated horribly by men. I'm sure a lot of those things happened. They used her, and she was young, and they said you have to be like this, and you have to do this and this and that. It's just it doesn't have to be just like harassment. It can just be, well, obviously mental abuse is a form of harassment. I feel that way, but it's just horrible. These stories these people tell, they're just awful. But then you get people like Shirley Manson, who comes out and says stuff like, oh, well, men growing up in the 90s were told that, like, boys growing up in the 90s were told that women are below them. And I'm like, give me a break. I don't like this generalizing nonsense that goes on. I hate that. I really do. It's like, you know what, Shirley Manson, why don't you go screw off? I saw this in a documentary of one of the singers. I can't think of her name. It'll hit me in a second. But these people, they just, I've been saying these people a lot, I feel. But these actors, these other, I don't know. It's really odd to me that they just come out and say these things without any proof. It's just dumb. It could be men or women. It's silly to me. It really is.
Are thinking that we don't remember that time.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, if that was the case, then why am I not that way still? That should have been crossed over.
Exactly.
But it does. I mean, I never thought of women as beneath me. I'm a kid of the 70s and the 80s. Now, we had women heroes. Wonder Woman. We had Ripley. We had, all across the board. And, I do have to take one little break here. I have to do this for poor Phil. Phil, this is for you.
Help! Help! I'm being repressed!
That's for you, Phil. So you touched my heart. So hopefully that will lighten the heart of Pacific414.
I mean, you mentioned how you're a kid of the 70s and 80s. I'm a kid of the 80s and 90s. And again, it goes back to the fact that we had strong characters, male and female characters, who we could look up to.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, look at Mission Impossible, Barbara Bain in the show. I mean, she was a very strong, capable, independent woman in there. She had to be for what the job was being done, but she was part of a team. But we still looked up to her. It's like, well, Cinnamon, hey, look at Leia. I mean, we're Star Wars. We love Charlie's Angels, which is a silly show, but still, we looked up to them. They're heroes. Wonder Woman, Princess Leia. I mean, it doesn't matter. We had strong women. We had strong women characters out there.
Major Kira.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, as we start moving in there, Kira and
Dax.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say Dax. You take a look there. Deanna Troi.
Yes. Wait, well, she's a strong character. She's all right.
But we did. I mean, we had strong women characters, and we had strong women character leads. I can't remember if I mentioned on your show or I said on this one. Cynthia Rothrock was a B actress, martial arts during the '80s and all that. I mean, she was awesome, a lead of the shows, and could kick tail. Uh, with the best of them.
Hmm. And
Don't
and
tell
it's
us.
funny that because Phil always brings up Grace Jones. Grace Jones is a strong character too. She was strong in
Yeah.
A View to a Kill.
Hmm.
She ended up sacrificing herself, if I remember in that film. Yeah,
I
she
think you're
did.
right. Yeah, it's been a
I
long
think she
time since
did
I've seen
die.
it. Hmm.
Yeah, she was strong. So they want to bring up these other people from different generations want to bring up how we didn't have like this diversity, or we didn't have black or Hispanic characters. Like you can go through it, and they're there. The character even in The Mask of Zorro, I was watching again. That movie's very good.
Yeah.
Catherine Zeta-Jones. I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
it's there's just so many. It's just crazy.
Well, think about
Linda
Hawaii Five
Hamilton.
O. Oh, Linda
Yes,
Hamilton. Oh, what
yes.
about
Oh, definitely.
Hawaii Five O, where Jack Lord insisted that they filmed in Hawaii? So what do you get? You got yourself literally a Hawaiian cast.
Hmm.
That
Yes,
was neat.
true.
That was needed in there. So I
Yes.
mean, and look how long that show is and how popular it was.
Yep. I know. 20 seasons or something. 21 seasons, something like that. It's
Oh,
crazy.
I don't think it lasted that long, but
No,
it
it
lasted.
the original High Five O did. Yes.
Okay.
It went a long, long time.
Hmm. And just think, Jack Lord was almost Captain Kirk. If it wasn't for the fact he was so greedy.
Interesting.
Yeah, he
Uh,
wanted to have like rights, certain percentage of rights to the show and all that. And said, nope, bye, Jack. But he
yeah.
had a show that solidified him, and he had a lot more seasons. Obviously, doing
Oh
Hawaii
yeah.
Five O.
Yep.
He's definitely entrenched in uh, our pulp culture mythology. Welcome,
Hmm.
Daniel. But yeah, I mean, we've had representation. We
Hmm.
never lived in a shelter. We were never sheltered. Yeah, I mean, obviously you had the situation where you had people playing Asians, but you
Sure.
also had Asian cast around them. I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
uh, but it doesn't mean that we were. It was being mocking or what. Uh, there's not going. It was not going out to be insulting.
Mm-mm.
And that's the big difference. It wasn't mocking. It wasn't making fun of. It wasn't any of that.
Yep.
I mean, yeah,
No.
you had Peter Sellers doing stereotype of it, but
Oh yeah. Of course. Of course.
it was for a joke. It was, it was running for a
Yes.
joke. But
Those were jokes. Yes.
and yeah, you had that, but you also had the fellow cast members that were of that same race. That were, if they were Asians or whatnot, for whatever they were
Yeah.
doing on that one. The funniest thing is, the funniest thing is, I was watching Highlander, and they had of course, I love listening to the director's track and such.
Hmm?
And they're sitting back saying, of course, they had the scene with the priest and the Kurgan. And they go, yeah, the guy who played the priest was actually Jewish. And then they started talking that was one of the funniest things that's in Hollywood. If you, so many Italians play Jews, and so many Jews play Italians. I mean, of course, one thing that comes to mind: Brad Garrett on Everyone Loves Raymond. I mean, that's supposed to be this big Italian family. Of
Hmm.
course, you have Peter Boyle, who's Irish, but Garrett, who's Jewish, playing an Italian. And then that's the other way around. You
Right.
know? It's one of those funny things out there.
Yep.
Yeah,
It
and
is.
the thing about Brad Garrett is he's made a living as an actor in front in front of the camera and also behind the mic
Hmm.
as a voice actor.
Yeah, exactly. He hasn't had I know he tried several attempts to have a series that didn't work, but I mean, again, behind the mic work and all that, it's like, oh, hey, I recognize that voice,
Mhm.
which is which brings in a
Hmm.
lot of money. Actually, don't feel bad for these people doing voice work.
No,
They can
no,
probably pull in
no.
more money than if they're in front of the camera.
I mean, think about it. You don't have to get all gussied up and prim and proper for the camera. You show up to the recording studio, you record your lines for the day, and then you go on to the next job.
Right. Exactly. Hope you don't get laryngitis.
True. That's also why some of them gargle salt.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Anomas is
Mhm.
right there. There's a lot of Koreans that play Chinese and vice versa. I mean, I think you had that with MASH TV show.
Mm.
Even Japanese playing Chinese or Korean.
A lot of the westerns in back in the day, back in my day, no, a lot of the Indian characters were played by Mexicans. That went on, and that's why I thought it was so great with something like a number of years later, after a lot of these westerns, we had Dances with Wolves, and we had actual real representation of Indians. That was great. Of course, now they're called Native Americans, but in that movie they were called Indians. Or
Right.
so yeah.
Well, one of my favorites was with Clint Eastwood with it's based off the book Outlaw Josie Wales. Outlaw Josie Wales. I mean, he had
Oh, Josie
Chief Dan
Wales, yes.
George in there. I mean, what a great character Chief Dan George was. And of course, he also had many American Indians in that film. What a great one. I mean, of course, Clint Eastwood, going for getting that look, that feel, that office, being authentic and all that. But it's kind of funny is how many Hispanics played American Indians, or Michael and Sarah. He was known
Yes.
for playing many American Indians in film
Mm-hmm.
and TV. Uh, it's just amazing. But the thing is, not it's not mocking or belittling. Sometimes it's the
No.
fact that you just didn't have the talent pool for it.
Right.
Now we're getting a bigger talent pool. Let's use it. Yeah. Now we're getting a bigger talent pool.
Well,
Yeah, Graham Greene. I love Graham Greene on the Red Green Show. Oh, but John Rendell's right though. John Wayne
yeah.
is famous.
Oh, I know. I'm sure it will.
What do you mean it's silly, Pilgrim? Uh-huh. All right. So yeah, that was bad. I do apologize, but that's the best I've got when it comes to John Wayne.
That wasn't too bad.
No, it's all right.
Almost Doomcock level. Almost Doomcock level. Are you sure you're not Doomcock?
No, I'm not Doomcock.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
No.
But
but speaking of Doomcock, someone that the three of us know was recently on Doomcock's channel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Paul was. Yeah.
Yeah, Paul. I heard he was on there.
Yeah, he was.
For his song, wasn't it, that he wrote?
No, he was on there to talk about where Star Wars is going, I think, at the point.
Okay.
And Nick was on there from EBN as well for that segment. So
yeah, I'm not surprised. Nick was on there. He and Coach are always good grabs for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, no. I mean, when people talk about diversity and representation, it's just funny to me. I mean, we had stuff like The Negotiator. You had Samuel Jackson, really good film. I can't remember if movies like Air Force One had much diversity. I think it did have some. Obviously, Die Hard has diversity.
Oh yeah,
it's just yes. It's just funny, man. And you still hear people. I know one person who wants to always bring up about how there really wasn't any diversity in the 80s and 90s, and he said that on stream, and I don't know if he was joking or not, but it's like, and the examples that he gave, it's like, what? No. 16 candles, and so I'm like, no, man, that's not right. So it's
No.
it triggered me, even that I don't know if he was joking or not, but
No, I hope he was kidding.
I was
Because
just like, I think he was serious. The examples he gave was just like, come on, dude. And so I got into a discussion also a while back. I think it was a few years ago on a comment section, and we were just going back and forth. And this woman just kept trying to tell me. I don't know if she was trolling. I think she actually believed this, that the way women were shown, where they just had bikinis and they had this, and I thought it was well, what about people like Xena? What about Lara Croft? Like, it wasn't just that these characters were just sex symbols or whatever. They had personalities, or they it's just, it's so funny to me. Like, you brought up Wonder Woman, and I have other friends who are like, oh, all these women are wearing these slutty outfits and this and that. In comics, I said, well, that was the what they had. I mean, men wore tights too. I just,
Well,
I don't care about these like outfits. Like, I look at stuff from like Black Widow. I don't care that that outfit looks cool. If she was showing more skin, I'm sure that looked cool too. If the outfits look good, that's what all that should matter. And if the actress or the actor or whatever is comfortable in them, that's a bonus.
well, what about Frazera and his representation of Conan? What
Mm-hmm.
about He-Man? What about
Yep.
Mark Singer and the Beastmaster? What about all this other stuff where basically it's the whatever beefcake? We have the
Yeah.
beefcakes running around out there.
Right.
I mean, Sean Connery and Zardoz. Oh God.
I don't think I saw that movie.
Oh no, but there's enough pictures of him out there in his outfit. I tell you what. But
I mean, look at Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the 80s.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. No.
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yes.
Mhm.
Another one. I mean, you have cheesecake and you have beefcake, and it's like there's nothing wrong with cheesecake or beefcake.
Mm-hmm.
Don't sit back and say that's all there was.
Yes. Exactly.
I mean, what was one of the biggest draws in the '80s? Let's see, Eddie Murphy. Yeah, let's see, 40
Yes.
Hours, Beverly Hills Cop.
Yes.
One of the biggest drawers in the theaters. Oh yeah, I mean, we racists and phobics never went to see those
I
films
mean,
at all.
how many
Wesley
movies did
Snipes.
yes, when he wasn't, when he was more normal, I guess.
Denzel Washington.
Wesley Snipes, Denzel Washington,
Wesley Snipes.
definitely.
Yeah. And again, to bring up his name again, Cosby was a big, huge.
Yes.
He was a giant. I mean, his word was gold on stuff. I mean, he's wanted something or wanted one way or another. It was done because he had power. He was so because he was so popular. Oh, I mean, he wouldn't have had the number one show because all of his assists and phobes never watched that. I mean,
none of us ever watched the Cosby Show, A Different World. We never watched Family Matters.
Exactly.
Those shows never became a success. They never had a following. Nobody ever tuned in to TGIF on ABC for Family Matters.
Yep.
The Jeffersons.
Nobody watched Cagney or Lacey or Murphy Brown or Mary Tyler Moore's show. Nobody watched those.
Yep.
Oh no, not at all. There's no representation. They were never popular at all. No one watched Carol Burnett. I mean, she was who watched that? I mean,
exactly.
Of course not. And what about Tracy Ullman? No one gave a rat's about Tracy Ullman. I mean, come on.
Nobody watched Good Times.
No Good
seriously.
Times. Nobody watched Maude. Nobody watched Maude at all.
Right.
I mean,
nobody watched Sanford and Sons.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. Not at all.
See, and all these shows are examples of popular shows. Popular shows that people would tune into each and every week because they were that good. They were worth their time.
Yes.
Oh, Mary Hartman, which was a bizarre one. What about welcome back,
WKRP in Cincinnati. I'm quite
Yep.
sure that had some diversity in it.
Oh yeah, you had Venus Flytrap in there. I mean,
And then if we're talking about movies, you got stuff like White Men Can't Jump. You've got The Negotiator. And the list goes on and on. I would have to
Car
think
Wash,
about some other. I don't think I watched
Mhm.
Car Wash. Is
the
Car
Comedy
Wash
Club,
okay? Yeah.
Harlem Nights. I mean, here you got
Yeah, Harlem
you know,
Nights, right? Yes.
I mean, yeah, there. Leonard Part 6. No, we'll forget that one. I mean,
Nobody
even
ever
some
watched Benson.
No, not at all. Who would want to watch that show? It never had ratings. Mod Squad. Thank you, John. You had the Mod Squad in there. And what about, again, going back to Mission Impossible? Who was one of the big brains on the show?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
we never liked Sidney Poitier. Never,
Right.
Never.
Right. Yeah.
No. Overrated. No, come on. I mean,
silly.
Right. You start listing off all these people and how we enjoyed the performances and what they've done in there, and it's it's so sad. But again, these are being told to a bunch of people who have no knowledge of anything outside of their 5-year bubble by people who have agendas, and no one watches his old stuff. I grew up on the old stuff. I'm sure both of you did as well.
Yes. Well, that's why I feel like we're spoiled because of the cartoons, especially like the 80s and 90s growing up. For they were just so much fun. Oh, what's on? Oh, Earthworm Jim is on, or we've gone back to this many times, but it was just really good. Oh, X-Men's on, sweet. Superman's on, Justice League's on.
Transformers are on. G.I. Joe. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it was just, we need a lot more of that. I even as an adult, I would get up and watch Saturday morning cartoon shows.
Of course.
Anime shows. It's just dang fun.
It's a shame that there are no more Saturday morning cartoons. Kids won't get that experience anymore.
No.
Like we did, waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning to watch a cartoon on a Saturday when we could be sleeping. Yep. No, we wanted to be up, watch the cartoon, eat our cereal.
Right. There we go. Exactly. Well, gentlemen, any last thoughts? We're kind of getting about an hour and 40 minutes here on the show. And of course, I thank you both. Is there any final thoughts you have, or anything you guys wish to plug, or make comments?
I'm gonna be working on getting my channel more consistent, the Phantom Hooligans, and Mike and I are probably going to talk about the either 6 or 7 of the Old Man this week, as long as you got time, Mike.
Oh, I've got time, brother.
So
Mike doesn't have a life. Of course, he's got time.
No, yeah. See, here's the thing. I'll make the time to talk about a show that I'm actually enjoying. And the Old Man is one of those shows.
And then I need to have you on sometime, Baron. So
I'd love to. Yeah, talk to me. I got my schedule's pretty open now.
Cool.
Now that I'm certifiably crazy, yes, I got plenty of time.
Yeah, that's too funny. Yeah.
So, of course, for me, I just, of course, you guys have your own shows. Of course, Mike, you had yours earlier. Before that, we do this massive crossover.
Pacific 414 Pop Talk, which I have every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then I try to have a Sunday morning edition at 11 a.m. Eastern, unless I'm doing a special edition of Pop Talk, which I try to have once a month on a Saturday. And the next one will be Saturday, August 20th, where the theme will be anime. So I am speaking to people who are more, let's just say, more educated on anime than I am myself. And I'm going to talk to them, and we're all going to find out why you should check out anime and give it a chance.
Nice.
Definitely. Anything special that you have there, Mr. Cash?
Well, I'm going to be working on some game videos, showing some people why I think, base, basically why Japanese RPG games are still relevant even today and why they're so much fun. So I'm going to be showing an example of a game of that. So I've got some videos, and I may ask you guys for some advice on some stuff that I don't know how to do because I'm just getting more into editing. Because when I did streaming on Twitch originally, I just threw on a game, talked about some stuff, and you know, talked to people in chat. But now I'm taking this to another level. So
Very good.
yeah.
And I do want to thank, of course, DJ Ronnie G, Anna Moss, the old man. I'm not going to say you, Pacific. John Rendell, Pulp Culture Republic. Who else do we got there? Of course, Phil McCracken, the poor put upon Phil McCracken out there for being in our chat as well. Of course, now the now sleeping Mrs. Tag. I'll let her know. I'll give her thanks later. And that was not on the tundra. And of course, we had Leah Rose on. We had, of course, Rough Girl was on earlier. That was great to see both of them there. Just going through my whole list, I need someone. You know what? I need a producer. Why don't I have a producer? And anybody I've missed, my apologies on that one. And of course, people who are sitting and hail Mouse. Yeah, you can't forget Mouse. Anyone who's been lurking out there, you're just as important for keeping us alive. So just because you don't chat doesn't mean you're not important. I want to let everybody know, of course, I'll be on Saturday morning fun time at the Pulp Culture Minefield, Saturday morning at noon Central Standard Time. I sometimes pop in with the pod on King Dolphin TV, his Saturday show. I think those are usually around 4 Central. I can't remember. And Tuesday Night Trek, that's 8 o'clock on Tuesdays. Hopefully things will get a little bit more normal. Of course, catch me here every Wednesday, 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. So I thank everybody for joining us tonight, especially my two guests, Mike and Cash Money. And I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Don't you want your last minute instructions?